afternoon and welcome to CSC Gurukul lecture. In today's lecture, I am going to discuss about Louis Dumont and his study of caste system in India. Louis Dumont was a French anthropologist who kind of gives us a significant paradigm shift in the studying of society in India, and he kind of contributed significantly by his publication of Homo Hierarchicus, which brought about kind of building a theory of sociology of India based on caste system. And here he kind of takes us away from a number of existing theory which was critical of caste system in India, and he looks into it in terms of a system which is kind of just sanctifies the ritual hierarchy which was part of Indian society. And in terms of his methodology, he uses an Indological and structuralist approach. Indological, as he was a scholar of Sanskrit, he utilizes his understanding reading of the text and uses it in his ethnographic study of South India, and structuralist in terms of his influence of Levi-Strauss, who kind of gives us the binary opposition and also the whole way in which ideas helps us to understand human behavior. So Homo Hierarchicus, his work, the most kind of a classical work on caste system in India, was published in 1966, and this is a complete theoretical work which will help us to understand a huge amount of ethnographic data. He has collected a huge amount of data on the empirical reality of caste system in terms of how caste system was structuring relation between individual, how it was kind of also influencing the everyday reality. So for Dumont, the inequality of caste system was a special kind. So it was accepted that it is based on unequal relation, but he says that there is kind of also a positivity in it because it was a special kind of inequality. And what was the task of the sociologist? The task was to lay bare the inequality, that is to understand the inner meaning of how this inequality was structuring the relation among individuals. So the major binary opposition that Dumont uses for understanding caste system was collective versus individualism. So he was under this impression or assumption that India as a society, or India as agrarian structure society where village was a part, joint family was a feature, was a kind of a traditional society, and it was characterized by a collective nature. That is one evidence is of a joint family, collective economy, home-based production. So this was the assumption which he kind of says that India, the main ideology is collective, and that is kind of a social community way of life. And this he contrasted it with the West, where he kind of considers individualism as the main goal. So the ritual hierarchy was also a reflection of the collective ideology, and it was based on the idea of pure and impure. When he looked into the modern society or the Western society was kind of a class-based society. The Western society, the class was the important criteria of stratification, and in class it was the individual capacity to move up the strata. So in terms of merit, in terms of hard work, one could kind of achieve state equal. So everybody was egalitarian. Why? Because the access to resources was equally available. Now it was dependent on how much the individual could use that resources to move up, and that is why he is calling it as individualism. So caste is a collective identity, and class is in the West is an individual identity. This was the contrast that he does in his comparative understanding of India and West. So the second idea which helps us to understand the caste system as understood by Dumont was the ideology of purity. Now this ideology of purity comes in from religion. That is, caste was a ritual hierarchy, and ritual hierarchy in the sense it was sanctified. So all the religious text mentions the caste system and the division of labor, and that is why he was kind of looking into the ideological ritual purity. So he, by looking into the purity, he is giving us the attributes of caste system, and his approach is also known as attributional approach. He gives us the attributes, means what kind are the salient features which can be understood, and all this idea of pure, impure, it is coming in from the religious context. So caste, he defined it as a set of relationship of economic, political and kinship systems sustained by certain values which are mostly religious in nature. So when we kind of conceptualize or comprehend caste system in India, we know one of the theory is to understand in terms of the origin in the religious context and the entire strata by looking into the origin of the different caste from the body of Brahma, which was kind of the almighty or considered as the most powerful religious figure. So there is a religious sanctity to the existence of caste system, and ritual hierarchy was kind of considered superior to secular hierarchy. Now, what is ritual hierarchy? Ritual hierarchy is the whole idea that the Brahmins are emerging from the head of the Brahma, and therefore they are at the top. So it is a religious idea or a religious kind of stratification which is there, and secular could be in terms of group or caste being able to utilize economic and political resources to move up the ladder. So for Dumont, it was ritual hierarchy which structured the Indian society, and therefore when he looks into caste as a ritual hierarchy, his stress is to understand caste as a cultural unity. He sees hierarchy as civilizational unity, that as a pan-India concept which unites everybody. Why? Because the presence of caste is everywhere, and it was a token of cultural unity and distinctiveness of India. We hear there can be a lot of critique in terms of kind of saying that caste was also present in many of the society outside India. But here let us first understand his theory before we begin to kind of question his or critique it. So when we look into his theory, he looks at caste as a ritual hierarchy and representing cultural unity. According to Dumont, the sociologist or the task of the sociologist is to interpret the caste and to take it as seriously, not to something which is kind of by chance or something which has happened and not to be taken account, but it is a kind of a civilizational scheme or a kind of a mode in which we cannot kind of consider that it is the result of India's coming in contact with other civilization, and therefore there is a degeneration. It is kind of something which was universally and uniformly present, and therefore looked at it as a civilizational structure. The study of caste, according to Dumont, should begin with a recognition of principle, because he was giving stress on ideology. So he is saying that one has to first kind of accept or agree on the principle which exists in their own society, and not begin in by looking at the West and doing a comparison. So what, as a sociologist, it is required that the Indian themselves kind of make sense of the principles or make sense of the ideas which are kind of applicable in everyday functioning, and then try to understand the structure of the society. So after looking into the mode in which he kind of asked sociologists to understand caste system, he has also kind of given certain characteristics, or he can kind of given certain attributes of the caste system. And the caste system, he believed, has divided the entire society. So because it's based on hierarchy, obviously strata has been done, and the entire population can be understood as divided into segments or hereditary group, which can be distinguished from another. So the Brahmins can be distinguished from the Vaishyas. So that is the segmentation or stratification which he is saying the caste system performs. So the first of the attribute, according to Dumont, is separation on the basis of rules of caste in matters of marriage and contact, whether direct or indirect. So, one of the most important feature of caste system was, or also we can kind of, though he was a structuralist, he is giving in his explanation in terms of structure. But if we were to look into the function, then what does the caste system do? First is it divides the population on the basis of occupation, so it is a division of labor. Number two, on the basis of caste system, marriage rules have been established. So, caste is an endogamous group, and therefore, members do not marry within the same caste. So, it is endogamy means marrying within the caste. And when we look into the contact is the rules of commensality, that is, members of two castes would not interdine. And that idea comes in from the idea of pure and impure, that the pure had to be separated from the impure. So, the food is something which was considered as capable of transmitting the impurity. So, if a Brahmin and a Shudra kind of interdine, then the assumption was that the impurity of the Shudra would get transferred into the Brahmin, and therefore, there was a rule of separating separate areas for interdining. So, in a very caste based society, the area where the Brahmins would be sitting and eating, they would not find members of the other castes. So, that was the separation of the pure and the impure. The second was in terms of the division of labor, and we know that each caste has been assigned a kind of a work according to their religious status or ritual hierarchy. So, and there was kind of a interdependence, because each segment was performing one work, it had to depend on the other. For instance, if the Brahmins were only supposed to be the learning group or the reading group, they were supposed to educate the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas, and so this entire division was in kind generated in terms of creating an interdependence. So, each of them kind of dependent on the other. The third is in terms of gradation of hierarchy. So, it was not just kind of interdependence, they were not assigned occupation just to help each other, but there was also a kind of a hierarchy of status. So, those who were on the top were of higher status and higher power. So, there was a kind of a political dimension. They had the capacity to get work done from the subordinate, and that is where the kind of exploitation and appropriation comes in. So, the entire understanding of caste, according to Dumont, can be completed by looking into the ideas that people had. So, those who were at the top had this idea that they were superior, they were ritually superior, they were legitimately considered as superior to those who were below them, and therefore, the legitimacy to exploit and appropriate the lower caste comes in. So, this in itself explains both the ideology that sustained the caste system as well as the context in which caste system was functioning. And in that sense, he kind of defines caste system as a system of ideas and values, which is formal, comprehensible, a rational system. Why is he calling it as a rational system? Because there is a kind of a logical explanation of why the group was divided into the groups. So, when we try to understand the caste system, and as I said already, one of the ideology that helps us to understand the caste system according to Louis Dumont is the opposition between pure and impure. So, this is one principle which he takes in, and this principle where the pure and the impure is obviously something which is understood in the religious context. So, pure in the religious is something which should not be touched by others. Pure is something which is sacred, which is separate, it is not mundane. So, this whole ideology of the opposition between the pure and the impure kind of structures the hierarchy. So, those who are at the top of the hierarchy are pure, and therefore, by the fact that they are on the top of the hierarchy, they retain superiority, and those who are at the lower will becomes, therefore by default becomes impure. So the pure encompasses the impure. And in his work Homo Hierarchicus, which was talking about the caste system and its implication, Louis Dumont built a model of Indian civilization, and kind of a model of Indian civilization where he kind of uses the caste system to identify the characteristics or the salient features of India as a civilization, and that was in terms of non-competitive, hierarchically stratified, based on the ritual hierarchy of pure and the impure. So, along with the ideology of pure and impure, hierarchy was very important. And how does Louis Dumont defines hierarchy? He defines it as the superiority of the pure over the impure. And this was the keystone of understanding caste system in India. And also in terms of looking into his comparative understanding, he uses hierarchy as an attribute of Indian society that contrasts it with the West. So the India and West are seen as kind of completely opposite societies. So India is the whole idea that there was individualism in the West. The whole idea arrived, or it was assumed that India was hierarchical or it was stratified. And it was a kind of a gradation in the sense stratas were being kind of made, and each group had a distinct identity, and each distinct identity in terms of the occupation, in terms of the resources that they could utilize, and also the power and authority that they kind of had. So it is a religious ranking. When we look into hierarchy, it's not kind of coming in from economic, any kind of access to economic, though there is a kind of overlap. Those who were religiously higher were those who had political power, and because they were kind of on the top, they were able to even appropriate material resources. So it led to their improvement in the economic field as well. So a religious ranking led to a kind of superior status of the Brahmins in terms of political and economic position as well. So if it's kind of when we look into Louis Dumont, and this is something which he kind of brings forward, is giving in a very positive interpretation of caste system, and he kind of argues that hierarchy is a necessary universal necessity, that universal necessity in the sense that every society should be kind of graded or stratified, and if it is not formally recognized, that if the society do not accept hierarchy, then it could result in pathological form. So the hierarchy could be in terms of caste, it could be in terms of class, but it has to be a part of every society. So along with pure and impure idea of hierarchy, the third is the notion of purity and pollution, and this is where kind of very Louis Dumont is kind of considered as one of the earliest scholars who gave us this notion of purity and pollution as an ideology that helps us to understand caste system, and it also helps us to understand the idea of untouchability. So those who were pure had to maintain distance with the impure, and therefore the impure were labeled as untouchable. That is, you cannot touch them, because the moment the touch is there, the danger of purity kind of transferring to the impure. Now when we look into kind of a critique, then there are scholars who would argue that why is there a kind of a transfer of impurity from the impure to the pure? Why is it not that the purity of the Brahmin could transfer to the untouchable and make them pure? So this there was understanding was because the caste system was being understood from the perspective of the Brahmins. So we will look into it when we look into the critique of Dumont, how his approach was kind of a top-bottom approach. But coming back to the idea of purity and pollution, the degree of purity was kind of a relative. It was not that everybody was of equally impure, and the relation of purity and impurity was kind of a little flexible at the middle level, and the highest level of purity was with the Brahmins, and the highest level of impurity was with the lower caste, or what was termed as untouchables. So the notion of pollution and purity plays a very crucial role in maintaining the required distance between different castes, and that is the separation. So you are not supposed to be interdining, and even the whole idea that a caste based society, those who were labeled as untouchable or lower caste were not supposed to enter the temple, they were not supposed to enter the space where the upper caste was, were all the lower caste were not allowed to drink water from the same well, were all based on the idea that there has to be a ritual separation between the pure and the impure. Now, who decides the impurity was obviously those who were on the top of the hierarchy, that is the Brahmin. So the distance would vary. The widest, the most widest distance was between the Brahmins and the lower caste, and therefore the kind of the level of purity and impurity, say between the Brahmin and the Kshatriyas, or between the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas, was negligible. So this kind of also tells us that Dumos was giving us an understanding of pollution and purity was relative. So when we look into the notion of pollution and purity, Dipankar Gupta, in terms of looking into the work of Louis Dumont, has observed that the notion of purity and pollution is integrally linked with the institution of untouchability, which is kind of self-explanatory, because they were impure and there was a danger of them kind of spreading the impurity to the other. They were kind of labeled as untouchable, and the practice of untouchability was there. But then there is also kind of a historical understanding of the notion of purity and impurity. So over a time, this whole idea of the transmission kind of was accepted as a religious kind of system, and as society transformed and as it becomes more scientific or rational, the whole idea of this transmission, because there is no explanation why it could be from lower caste to the upper caste and not the vice versa. Therefore, this idea of the pollution and purity kind of weakens, and it kind of more or less has kind of disappeared from modern contemporary industrial society. So these were some of the features that he explains in terms of hierarchy, the opposition between the pure and impure, the opposition between the notion of purity and pollution, that the Brahmins were pure and the lower caste were kind of considered as spreading pollution, was the way in which Louis Dumont defined caste system. Now then, in his understanding of caste system, he also looks into the changes, because he is talking about implication. The title says the caste system and its implication. So he looks into the change, but he kind of argues that the overall framework of the society does not change. He says there is a change in the society, but not of the society. So there can be change in the caste system. So if we look into the contemporary society, the practice of untouchability is not kind of practiced. It is not the idea that someone will pollute or kind of bring impurity, it has weakened. So that is change in society. So the caste system has not withered away, it's still there. But according to Louis Dumont, one of the most significant change that has taken place is that the traditional interdependence, that is, each of these group were occupational group and they were interdependent on each other. So the interdependence has changed and each segment has become self-sufficient, and they are in competition with each other. So when we look into the politics, or we look into the caste reservation, we look into vote bank, these are more complex debate to understand caste system in India. We see that the caste are no longer being interpreted as interdependent on each other, but could be kind of understood as blocks or groups which are in competition with each other. And Louis Dumont uses the phrase substantialization of caste to refer to this shift from interdependence to groups which has become competitive groups. So there is a kind of competition over reservation, there is competition to kind of be the most dominant in politics, there is a caste based vote bank, and so on and so. So there is a kind of a caste from a ritual hierarchy has today become more significant terms of a secular hierarchy. So substantialization of caste refers to a process by which caste separates, distinguishes and isolates themselves from each other and from the caste structure. So it is no longer kind of there in everyday practice. It kind of becomes very negated to the private domain. Caste was defined in terms of giving identity to individuals, and the relationship with other was a structural whole. So the Brahmin as a group was had an identity that they are dominant group in relation to the other group. So independence and individuality kind of has become discrete. Now these castes are discrete entities of a substantial whole. So this requires a kind of a larger discourse to understand caste in contemporary India, which is not the objective of today's lecture. Here we are just trying to understand what Louis Dumont has given us. So by looking into the change, he goes into cultural explanation of caste, because he was looking at caste as a civilizational unity, and he was kind of giving us that it is not emerging from the economy, but it is the culture which has given rise to the caste system. And this position of caste is relative. I have already explained that it's not kind of everybody is unequal to the other, but there is a kind of relativity which helps us to explain caste system. Ritual purity and impurity has been explained by Dumont by looking into the Jajmani system, that is the client and the patron relation, where the upper caste was considered to be the patron and the lower caste was and there was a kind of interdependence between the patron and the client. He understands purity by looking into the interdining or the commensality, marriage rule, endogamy, exogamy, socialization, and also kind of the religious understanding. So domination is by hierarchy and not by economy. So those who are considering them as dominant are kind of acquiring that higher status from the culture. So in his work on Homo equus, which he comes of publishes much later after understanding the hierarchy in India, was trying to understand individualistic ideology, or trying to understand individualism, equality and freedom in the kind which appeared as a kind of big ideology after the French Revolution. So in his work Homo equus, he is trying to understand racism, he is trying to understand totalitarianism, and reflects on the failure of egalitarian society. So when he begins Homo hierarchicus, he calls Western society as an egalitarian society, but after the study of India, his study of West tells us the problem of racism, totalitarianism, and he says that the principle of egalitarian ideology also kind of has failed in terms of achieving its end. So when we look into the critical assessment, he has been criticized by Andre Bette, Dipankar Gupta, John Mencher, and the most of the critique is that his studies are most in terms of theoretic, grand generalization. Empirical reality at the level of jati, which we see his understanding are kind of contrasted. So the lived reality cannot be explained by looking into the Indological approach. Status and power he has differentiated, and so it is not very easy to separate the status and power, and also between the ritual and secular hierarchy is difficult. So there is a lot of critique of Louis Dumont in terms of giving a top bottom approach. He kind of gives us a false dichotomy between modernity and tradition, and he kind of negates the idea that there is individualism in Indian society also. And the most important critique is that he fails to look into the conflict perspective. But despite the criticism, he was able to kind of give a new paradigm shift to understanding Indian society, and he constructed a model which is an ideal type and helped to understand Western society through the model of Indian society, and that's the most important contribution. So he kind of gives us an understanding of both India and West. So with this understanding of Louis Dumont's contribution to understanding of caste system, I come to an end of today's lecture. Thank you.